And eventually I'll get you guys like a little form that you might be able to sign saying like, hey, it's okay to use this for marketing purposes. And, I hope I can give Erica another couple of seconds to change her name if she wants to. And I can just cut that out up until now.
Being displayed. I just hate how I look on camera.
Oh, okay, but you're good to participate with your name and everything. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, so we are recording, right? Yep, we are recording. Okay. And Jessica answered that question very well. So, question two. Name one mistake that you have made in your life and what you learned because of it. I'll answer this one. Drinking was a problem for me, so drinking in excess. From this, I learned that drinking causes fewer positive outcomes than negative ones. Does anyone else want to answer that? Still don't see Chris joining, right? No. All right, so we can move on from this one. All right. So I'd love to get someone else to answer this question three. List three things that you want to improve in your life and what you can do to make them happen. Does anyone want to answer that? Three things that you can do to improve your life, what you can do to make them happen?
To
Tammy?
that.
Well, Erica, sure, great.
So mine is pretty similar to what you have here. One, work. Um, I can maintain and improve progress in my at my job by really taking the time to listen to what's being said by my colleagues and really being engaging and asking questions, not being very as guarded or getting offended as easily, because sometimes I take things personally when it's just business, and sometimes we're going to disagree or people are going to have questions about what you're sharing, or they might even have suggestions to make things better. So I need to work on really having healthy relationships with my colleagues. Two, I need to work on personal relationships with friends and family. Because of my past and some things I've been through, I'm very guarded and I don't share. I'm not affectionate. I'm not really a kind of person who's really empathetic. And I know I need to work on that. And I need to, also hold myself accountable and let them know that these are things that I'm trying to work on, and have them, say, hey, I see that you're doing this, that, call it, bring it to my attention. And that's something I can do and work on that. And three, my faith. I go to church, but I need to do more than just going on Sunday and smiling. I need to really practice my faith and read my Bible and make the changes that I know I need to make in my life.
Awesome, Erica. That was a good answer to the question. I love that you're trying to use feedback, build your relationships with your family, and increase your faith and spirituality. Excellent. And actually, here is self-awareness. So, like you said, trying to work on yourself and how you perceive things, being guarded. I think that has a lot to do with self-awareness, and feedback, like taking what other people say and using it. So, being self-aware. Does anyone want to read this one? Self-awareness, being self-aware.
I'm in it.
All right, Tammy, sure, go ahead.
One of the most important components of mental health recovery is being self-aware. What does it mean to be self-aware? Are you aware of how you speak to people? Are you aware of how others perceive you when you are communicating with them? Are you aware of your body language and the message your body language sends to others? Are you aware of your attitude? Are you aware of how you are improving your life? Are you aware of the things that you do that are causing you problems? Can being self-aware help you to get where you want to go in life?
Great. You see, being self-aware isn't just about being aware internally, personally. has a lot to do with other people as well. Does anyone have an answer for this passage that they have already completed? If not, someone could answer it off the top of their head.
I answered it. Um,
Well, Christine, you've already gone on one of these,
okay,
so
great.
I'd like to get someone else. If not, I could share my answer too. I gotta participate as well. Does anyone else want to do it?
Oh, sorry.
You
I
want
was
to do it,
gonna,
Erica?
yeah, I can do it.
Great.
I have this passage relates to honesty because we need to be, honest and real with ourselves to realize that we must take responsibility for our actions that have contributed to the damage and hurt we have caused ourselves and others.
That's good. That's good. All right. So, question one. In what two ways are you self-aware? I can answer this one. One, I ask others for feedback, which kind of ties into what Erica said. Two, I write down my problems and attempt to determine if I am the cause or what the cause is. Would anyone else like to answer this one? What two ways are you self-aware?
I have very similar answers.
Oh, yeah?
I have pay attention to how I influence others and listen to feedback. And I have regularly examined thinking patterns and if they align with my values.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, thinking patterns. I feel like, I got to be more aware of my thinking every day. So, question two. What are two things you know about yourself that you would like to change or improve? And Christine, I was just saying not to read that reading, but you can totally answer any other questions. I just wasn't trying to discourage you. But would anyone, oh, Jessica has her hand raised. Sure, go ahead, Jessica.
So, um, yeah. Let's see here. I need to, I guess, let people finish talking before I start talking. So I just need to stop and listen and don't interrupt and, let them finish talking. That's a big thing that I do. And, you know, it's sometimes like I'm able to give people advice about what situation they're going through and everything. But it's like also it's like I don't take my own advice, with myself, Um, well, I guess it's more like with relationships. Oh, okay, yeah, but I attract the same guy. Well, he's not a good guy. Oh, but this person is, yeah, not so much. So, just really thinking about the choices I make, and then of course I am ADHD too, so I can get distracted very easily as well. I can sit here and have a conversation with you, change the topic like 5 different times, and come back to the first topic and finish it, and you're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, about that." And they're like, "That was just, yeah, So just taking the time to slow down, listen, and think about what I'm gonna say before I react. So,
Awesome, Jessica. You really were being self-aware there. That's awesome. Yeah, I think you definitely thought really hard about like what you can change and improve in your life. That's great. So, how can being more self-aware make your life better? Does anyone want to answer this?
I can answer.
All right, Tammy, go ahead.
Being self-aware can enhance the relationships in your life because people will trust you to be honest and give them helpful advice rather than be afraid that you may trigger them. Even if you do, you can communicate. This brings healing to both rather than stress.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Mm.
You get back off that?
Did someone else, you wanted to answer that as well, Erica?
Yeah, I want to piggyback off that because I totally
Sure.
agree with what Tammy just said. But also I want to add that sometimes we do things and we don't realize we're doing it. So being more self-aware is just to kind of really take a step back, and it goes back to the accountability thing again. You have to be self-aware of, what you're doing and how your actions, affect other people. So being self-aware gives you the opportunity to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, and redirect it and try to change it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we do, we're unaware of it because it's a habit or that we do unconsciously or it's an impulse. I don't know if you agree with that, but I have impulses and sometimes I get agitated with people, get real short with people. And I don't intend to. Do I seem like the kind of guy that gets short with people? But hey, I do, and it's just an impulse or a habit, you know. So I can definitely be more self-aware about that and then change for the better. So that's the end of honesty. Now we get into trust. Would anyone like to read trust?
Trust. There are different levels of trust. We can have trust in a specific person or people, in the systems we are in, such as our government's legal system or system of wellness or therapy. Self-trust is trusting that we have our own best interests in mind.
And then at the bottom, are you able to see that on your
I can
screen?
see part of it. Within these is determining who we can rely on, who we cannot, and I can't see after that.
Can share with others. Thank you.
Okay.
So, there's obviously different levels of trust. That's what's important there. We can have trust in systems or people or, therapy. And each of those, we trust them in different ways. So that's pretty much what's important about that. Does anyone have any questions on that before we move on? And Chris just joined us. So, hopefully you can hear us. Can you hear us, Chris? Are you in here? I admitted you, right? Audio might still be connecting. All right. All right. Self-disclosure. Would anyone like to read this?
I will.
Jessica, sure.
I cannot hear it. Goddamn.
Self-disclosure, it is important to remember. We never need to share something that would make us uncomfortable. There is more we can share with others than something that would make us uncomfortable. It is different to share things that we want to keep private versus our hopes, goals, and strategies. There's no guarantee what we'll say will remain confidential.
Right. So, this is really important in trusting other people. What do we say to them? What do we not say? It might not remain confidential. We don't want to say anything that'll make us uncomfortable, but it's also important in peer support, either as being a person who's being supported or by being a peer supporter. So, as a peer supporter, you want to be mindful of what kind of story you share. We don't need to always share about the painful experiences. We want to share a message of hope. So it just depends on what you're comfortable sharing. Remember, peer support, there's going to be points in this group where we talk more about peer support. We did in the beginning and then spread out throughout the group. We'll talk a little bit more about peer support and tips for being a good supporter and mentor. So, dealing with conflict, trusting others. I'll read this one. So, This is from the original Peer Support Recovery and Coping Skills Workbook and Curriculum. These are separate books written by another author friend of mine. We incorporated into this book. It's where we get our passages from. In my life, I have experienced a great deal of conflict. At times, I have struggled with knowing which people I can get the most helpful support from. This is an issue of trust. Let's talk about what trust is and how having a trustworthy confidant is important to your recovery. Having a safe person who you can trust to help you is important. Having that person will help you feel less alone in your struggle. As people in recovery, our lives present countless opportunities for us to develop trust in others and to learn to trust in ourselves. We can create better days, one trusting moment at a time, because we do not need to be alone in our struggle. Awesome. Is there anyone who can identify with that? Do you feel that might be similar to your life in recovery? I think developing relationships was pretty hard for me.
I agree with this wholeheartedly, and it's always good to know that there's someone in your corner, but more importantly, someone who understands what your struggle is and not judge you for it and just try to help you through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I can answer this passage as well. Conflict. How does this passage connect to trust? I said conflict can degrade a person's ability to trust. Even still, it is important to allow ourselves to trust and have a confidant worthy of our trust. In fact, it is even more important when in recovery. The person should be a safe person, and we won't feel so alone when we have someone to trust. To create a trusting relationship is really an opportunity that we can't go without, and it will fuel our recovery even if we don't know it or currently have no one to trust. Does anyone else want to answer this question? How does the passage connect to trust? Anyone can answer if you want to, you don't have to. All right, so we'll just move on. Question 1. List the names of 3 people who you can trust if you are having an intense challenge. Would anyone like to answer that one?
I will. I'll put my therapist. I have a mobility mentor. And then I had a pregnancy health center advocate. Um, yeah, I'll put those people for my support.
Awesome. It sounds like you got some good supporters in your corner. All right. Move on. Unless anyone else would like to answer that, but we can move on. How do you manage a tough situation when you don't have someone to talk to for support? Would Chris or Christine maybe answer this question? How do you manage a tough situation when you don't have someone to talk to for support?
Sure. I I generally manage that type of situation by journaling and praying or taking a walk. A lot of times just journaling assists me to be able to kind of process what's going on in my mind.
Yeah, I find journaling really helpful. Yeah, that's a good way to handle a bad situation. And it helps us learn from it too. You know, we can look back on it, so it's really helpful. Thank you, Christine. All right, so question 3. Why is being able to trust others important to your recovery? Why is being able to trust others important to your recovery? Chris, would you like to answer this one? Maybe Chris is having problems. He got kicked out too earlier, so Would anyone else like to answer this one?
I can,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you
Who
go
was
ahead.
who was that? Because I think Tammy, I don't have you down as answering one of these questions yet, Tammy. But you might have, but I might have missed it. But I think I got it.
It might relate to Erica's too. So, I mean, I'll answer and then if you want to let her answer too.
Sure, yeah.
So I have trust is important because it establishes safety. Many of us got into addictions because we did not feel safe at some point, and it provides the illusion of connection when really it's a disconnect from the part of us that's wounded and needs help.
Absolutely. And I see, safety is really important in trusting relationships. I know like safety and choice are big things for trauma informed care. So if you've ever tried to work with somebody or like been, working with someone on your own trauma, what do you want? You want safety and you want choice, you want collaboration and trust. So awesome. Erica, did you want to also go?
Say safety. Tammy spoke the words, exact words I was going to say.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I've seen it like a couple of times. People be like, "Oh, I had something really similar to that," and I'm like, "Yeah, I think this leads us down a similar pathway in our thinking." So, would anyone like to read this one? We already have Jessica and Tammy for readings.
Can read.
Okay, Christine, thank you.
You're welcome. The importance of companionship, Better Days, a mental health recovery workbook. As a person who lives with a mental health struggle, I am well aware of how lonely and alone my life can feel at times. I have learned that it is possible to make progress toward improving my relationships. However, this requires hard work. Why is companionship so important for a person going through the recovery process? Do you feel that you can count on your peers to be supportive and listen if you need them to? Let's think about our lives. Are there people in yours that you can reach out to, perhaps offer support to each other, perhaps build friendships with? As people living with a mental health struggle, our lives can feel very alone. We can change this for the better and find happiness, companionship, and peace.
Wonderful, thank you. You have a really good reading voice too. I think you'd be a really good facilitator. So, would anyone like to read this? I'd like to get you to read this, Chris. If I mean not read this, but to answer how that passage connected to trust. Can you hear me, Chris? Don't see him responding. He putting something in the chat, maybe. Maybe typing a new message. So, if you can hear me, would you like to, you said you can hear me, so would you like to answer this question, Chris? Type it out. Okay, sure. Go ahead, Chris. Type it out and I'll read it. Everybody can just hang in for a minute. Try to make it pretty brief though, so we can get through this real quick. I don't want to have everybody waiting very long. She might be having audio troubles, so I understand that. Does anyone want to say what they think about the group so far? What do you think about the process and how we, take turns to participate in order to get the completion certificate to become a facilitator? Do you think that makes the group more engaging?
I agree with that statement.
Good, good. I'm glad. I wish you guys, I wish I had done those polls a little earlier so I could have, got you in here for the beginning of the group. I think this would have been pretty great if we could have had a little bit more participants. Oh, Chris says he's lagging really bad. Yeah, he got kicked out after he first joined.
The only thing that I think it's preparing participants to really work on this every day. If you're doing it once a week, because it's a lot of homework.
Once
Like you're
every 2 weeks, usually.
okay. So when you're facilitating, that's how the format usually works.
Yeah, in the future, I'm actually trying to work on having an app made that can, oh, what's the question? Well, Chris, never mind on, doing this, Chris. If you still don't quite know what the question was, we'll just move on. But what I was going to say is I'm actually working on an app so that we can connect facilitators with participants. And well, I'm not working on it yet, but it's in the pipeline. And I've talked to some people. And on the app, you'll be able to, schedule your classes. If you want to take it every 2 days or every 3 days or something, you could do that. It is a lot of homework, I think, so people just kind of need to be aware of that when they make that selection. But I think, if you want to become a facilitator, every 2 weeks means it would be a 2.5 month class. So, if you want to be a facilitator really quickly, then, a 3 day class might be good. Also might be helpful in like rehabs or homeless shelters where people are there for a short duration, but then you'd have them like really engaged in the process for like a week or two, and I think that could be helpful too. So Chris did not, he was not able to get this done right now, so I'll just read my answer and then we'll move on. So I said the passage connected to trust, and if you want to look at it real quick again, person, importance of companionship. So do you feel like you can count on people to be supportive, things like that? So I said, remember this is the format where we underline keywords and things and use them. So I am a person with a public record of having a mental health struggle. This information was widely circulated. Because of this, I felt I couldn't form relationships with anyone and isolated, which made my life miserable and lonely. I have learned that it is possible to make new trusting relationships if I am willing to put in the work and come up with different methods of making friends. Subsequently, I go to peer support groups. This isn't just about making loose connections to make myself feel a little bit better. It is about companionship and trust. Awesome.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Chris.
All right. If you want, I can answer that now.
No,
I've
it
got a
took a little
microphone.
while, so remember we're always on a tight time schedule, so we'll just get you to answer a later one. But I appreciate your willingness. So, question one. Name, and you can answer this question if you'd like. Name one worthwhile friendship that you have in your life. What are the best parts about having this friendship?
It would be my probably be the my mentor,
Okay.
and that's because they're honest with me. They don't hold back, and the truth is only offensive when we're lying. And I mean, I enjoy having someone hold me accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, having a good mentor who holds you accountable, that's perfect. So I'm glad you have that relationship. Okay, question two. What does having a good friend mean to you? What does it mean to be a good friend? Does anyone other than Jessica want to answer this? She has the most for this right now. Mm.
To
Chris,
me, right here, what you said, I agree. Having a good friend means that it's someone to share positive things with, and also, when you're not doing as well, they're there to, be on your side and lift you up. But at the same time, be honest enough to let you know, hey, you were wrong. And being a friend, or both being a friend and having a friend, means that we can say anything to each other without the person feeling that they're being attacked. It's just genuinely something, I'm saying to you because I care about you. And being a good friend is just like you said up here, just, reciprocating everything, and reciprocating that, being there for someone through the good times, but also being their strength and encouragement, and being honest with them when they're having hard times.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad, like, again, we're thinking along the same track. That's perfect.
I can answer that if you need someone else to answer it too.
How about this next one, Chris? Would you like to answer this one? Why is peer support and friendship so important to have when a person is in the recovery process?
Yeah, I mean, it, it has to be there. If we don't have that trust with the peer that we're working with, the recovery process is not going to be a smooth one or even a positive one. Um, and that would be known through our supervision. We'd be telling our supervisor, hey, look, like, this is how I'm struggling with this individual. A supervisor should be giving us examples. And then, in 3 weeks when we, meet again, and if nothing's changing, then it's time to, okay, this individual, should have a different peer, because that's going to, do what's best for them.
Awesome. Yeah, it is important. I remember about like 10 years ago, when apps were really becoming popular and everything, I told my uncle, I said, I want to make an app where you can rent a friend, you know? And then like 10 years later, I'm a peer support specialist, and I'm pretty much, like, in this process where you can find someone to support you and just be there for you. And that's why I wanted to do it. I was like, I can't find anyone who's a good supporter or advocate or ally. So, who might want to read this one? All right, Chris, if you're still there, I can't see you on the screen. There you are. We don't have you for reading one of the passages yet. Could you read this passage?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
I sit here very tired, sick and cold, and feeling useless. It is as if my body continues to struggle towards mental wellness independently of my conscious mind. I think this is because somewhere along my journey to recovery, I found hope and promise and options in my struggle. The struggle has never been easy for me. It has been a constant life lesson, knocking me down and then helping me up over and over again. Our struggles have value. The struggles of every person using this workbook are valuable. Our struggles teach us how to live and how to be. Someday we will look back and say, thank goodness for the experiences we have had and for how much we have grown. And then we will realize that we are strong and we can be proud and we can celebrate our lives.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you for reading. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, I was thinking Tammy could answer how this passage relates to trust, if you would be so kind.
Okay, I have. The only way to grow stronger is to face our struggles and choose to perceive them as opportunities rather than something to avoid. If we choose to embrace the struggle, we begin to see hope and a promise of recovery and mental wellness. And I have take time to celebrate each victory and train yourself to look for the silver lining.
Awesome. And it sounds like, when we do those things, we can begin to trust ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Perfect, Tammy. Thank you. Does anyone else maybe want to answer how that, Pat? You don't have to, but if you want to, you could. All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. So if we could have Tammy or Christine answer this question. Okay, Mom. That was my mom walking in. She came to drop off some tiles for my flooded basement floor.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Do you want to
Uh,
answer this one?
yeah.
Great.
I hope that you get it unflooded. That's got to be awful. So two things that I can do to get back on track. One of the things that I can do is go back to my daily maintenance plan and really look at what it is that maybe I'm missing, that has caused me to get into a place of being off track. Another thing is I can write a gratitude list and also reach out for support.
Awesome. Yeah, I have gratitude lists there, and usually for this kind of question, I say, stick to my recovery plan, which is part of this group. You'll see later, and I'll have to tell you about the recovery plan at the end. You have an assignment for next week to do part of your recovery plan, but we have a big, big, extensive recovery plan in this group, which facilitators also have to complete. We like to see that facilitators have a good plan for themselves. So next, so I got Christine here, and Tammy, if you want to read this one.
Okay, so it says, what are two things you can ask someone else to help you with during your times of need? I generally like ask someone to help me sort through things, and it super helps like on a walk. Like I like that you have cleaning the house together because I like to do that like with an activity. And then I also have help me choose a healthy activity that will be fun or distracting. And
Awesome.
the option that you have actually works too. I've done that also.
They call me in the morning and encourage me.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have too many people that are willing to call me, but they'll text me. They'll text me in the morning. They don't want to pick up the phone at 5 o'clock in the morning. All right, so we have anyone but Jessica could answer this question. Jessica answered so many of these already. And thank you for doing that, Jessica. So if no one wants to answer, I'll go ahead and just read my answer this time. Looking back over your life, what are two experiences in which you have struggled and then found that you had learned a good and helpful lesson? So, I said that when my sister committed suicide, I learned that I was stronger than I believed myself to be, even if I still broke down completely a while after it happened. So, two, when I was getting out of jail and I had to deal with a lot of extra requirements of my time, but I learned that if I really focused, these were but challenges to help me get my life together. So, being on probation, they demand a lot from you, but it all just turned out to be something that helped me in the long run, kept me focused. So, acceptance. I can read this too. Acceptance. Are you on your way out? Or are you just looking around? Okay. Yeah, they haven't touched that much yet. That's okay. Yeah. Acceptance. Each person is subject to different degrees of unforeseen circumstances, restrictions, rules, and regulations. For the most part, these obstacles depend on our situation, can be temporary or can be changed with support. While we must deal with these situations while they occur, we can find ways to have hope within them and have better days. Tip for trauma and grief informed. Many people will report that there are things that they cannot or will not accept. This is okay. Remind them that they can still work on the other fundamentals and that there is a difference between accepting that an event took place and two, accepting the event into our lives and our space. So, does everybody kind of agree with that? Are those some big reasons why we might struggle to find acceptance? Maybe there's some other reasons you could add as to why you might struggle finding acceptance sometimes.
I mean, I think accurate.
You think it's good? And, does that make sense that, we can accept the reality, accepting an event took place, but not accepting it into our lives and our space? We have a choice.
I think that's absolutely right. I agree.
ACEs would be one.
What'd you say, Chris? ACEs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. ACEs are definitely something, adverse childhood experiences. If you've had them, they might be something hard to accept and move on from. They can even change our brain chemistry. Very good, Chris.
Yeah, and I think forgiveness too. If we have the inability to forgive, and sometimes, because even when you're talking about ACEs, like if somebody has experienced, something very extreme like sexual trauma, that can be a very difficult thing to process through and learn to forgive yourself and the other person. So that could keep you stuck in not accepting the situation or being able to move forward.
Right. Thank you, Christine. And, moving forward, that's a big idea with this concept of acceptance. So here we have, We Must Keep Moving by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we start off by saying, sometimes it is the things we find the hardest to accept that take us off the path of our life purpose. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. believed that the most important thing each person must do is figure out their life purpose and let nothing hold them back from being the very best at the purpose they have chosen. He has a quote here that says, well, first we say, while we may struggle to find acceptance, we can let nothing hold us back. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, we must keep moving. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by all means, keep moving. So, we just have a responsibility to ourselves not to be held back by anything and to be the best at our purpose that we can be. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if we're gonna fall backwards instead of forwards. I always hear people say fall forward, fall backward. If you can look up, you can get up.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. And you won't smack your face either.
This is
Good.
true.
I
So,
like the part where it's talking about like, but by all means, if you have to crawl,
mm-hmm.
because sometimes that's what it feels like is you just have to crawl, and eventually you'll be able to stand.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And then at least we can strengthen our muscles and be able to get up again. So, let's see. Anyone could read this, but actually, we're moving through the group pretty well, but, it'll still probably be about another 40 minutes or so until we're done. And then we'll have open discussion and maybe I'll ask a couple questions quick. So if everybody wants to take a 5-minute break, get some coffee or use the restroom, I think this would be a good opportunity for that. Let's take a 5-minute and then we'll come back. Oh, I I didn't mean to lock the screen, but feel free to take 5 minutes. It's 1:02, so let's come back at 1:07. Readings. Anyone could read this. We all have the same amount of participation here. Take a
The
volunteer.
recovery journey. Ready?
Yep.
The recovery journey can introduce many wonderful experiences into our lives. With that said, there are things that may happen in our daily life that are completely out of our control, I'm sorry. In my experience, I have found that part of living in this world is having to face the fact that I am unable to control all the parts of my life. Yesterday, I had to face being insulted, and I have some very hurtful things said to me about me for something that was not my responsibility in any way. I had no control over the cause of this situation. However, as I was a bearer of some bad news, I became the target. I hurt, and I hurt a lot. Then my day went on, and my life went on, and it was up to me to accept there are things that I cannot control, that I have done my very best, and that unfortunately things don't always work out the way I would like them to. However, my life does go on, and I will continue to work as hard as humanly possible to achieve my better days.
Awesome. So our lives go on. No matter what, you just keep moving. No matter what's in our control or out of our control, life goes on. So, Chris and Jessica or Tammy. We don't have you for no, I do have Tammy for one of these. Jessica, would you like to read how the passage connects to acceptance? Is that Bo? Hey, Bo. Hey, buddy. Got a dog in the house. Got a dog here.
Yeah, dog.
Bodie, say hi. Come up here, Bodie. Alright. Jessica, did you want to read this one? Or not read
Yeah.
this, but answer it yourself? How the passage connected?
Yes, that one.
If you want me to go back to it, I can do that.
Yeah, you can go back to it for just a second. Return. So I would say that
How it connected to acceptance.
I mean a lot of things, are especially, out of our control. And so like for instance with my kids, I can push and push and push and work my butt off and everything. But in the same sense, depending on your belief system and everything, your higher power, whatever, it's always his timing. Not our timing, it's always his timing. So no matter what you do, it's whenever he's ready for it to happen, and everything, you just have to realize that, things happen that are out of your control and you just have to accept it. That's also part of like being like change to comfortability. A lot of people don't like change because they're just comfortable with what they know. So we have to sometimes step outside of that box or to accept things that we really don't agree with, but I mean, we have no choice but to, and just, let the process do its job, The only thing that we can accept is the change in ourselves. I had to accept that I couldn't change, my baby daddy that I'm codependent on. Took a long time, went through a lot of things together, you know, and then finally it's like, you know what? I can't change him. You know, all I can do is pray for him. You know, so that took a lot of acceptance and trials and everything to realize that. So yeah, it's just a process we have to go through.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, I like how you incorporated the idea of change, you know, changing ourselves or changing in other people. And that can be something that's out of our control, that, you know, we have to accept sometimes. Really good
Am I
insight.
able to share on this?
Yeah, sure, Chris, you can go ahead if you want to talk about how the passage connects to acceptance. That would be great.
The only reason that I want to is because I've been doing like a personal writing for all the journals I've kept for the past like 17 years.
Mm. Just
But
remember to keep it within about
it's
a
real
2-minute
short.
window.
I'm an optimist by nature, and humor has been one of my greater teachers. It has helped me deal with pain, loss, and lack of trust. I am not perfect. No, I step it all the time and recognize it when I do. I've just learned how to scrape it off my boots and carry on, because we all step in poop from time to time. We hit roadblocks, we F up, we get effed, and we get sick. We don't get what we want. We cross thousands of could have done betters and wish that wouldn't have happened in life. Stepping in poop is inevitable. So let's either see it as good luck or figure out how to do it less often.
Awesome, Chris. Yeah, I appreciate you trying to keep that appropriate. Yeah, and then we just got to keep moving on. You're right. Thank you for sharing. So, question 1. I can answer this one. Take 5 minutes and ask a safe person to talk to. Ask a safe person to talk with you about any topic that you are interested in that is unrelated to your struggle. How did things go for you? I said that I talked with a friend about my business and goals. They found it all pretty interesting and told me to keep working on it because it sounds impactful and achievable. Now, did anyone get this assignment soon enough to be able to actually, you know, go and have a conversation with someone about something unrelated to your struggle? Did anyone have any recent conversations that were, you know, about something other than the recovery struggle? And how did that go? We don't need anyone to participate, but I see Christine.
Yeah, actually the other day, I think it was, yeah, Thursday. So it was 2 days ago. I had a conversation with someone just about, because I'm at the end of my master's degree. I have like 12 weeks left and I feel like I'm in limbo. And so I was just having kind of that conversation of, you know, staying present and accepting the way things are right now, because there's like so many things that are going to be affected by just finishing school.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, just stay present and continue to you know, yeah, just stay present and continue to move forward, right? And so just accepting things the way that they are.
Definitely. And I think that's going to really pay dividends for you, Christine. So, you know, don't give up yet. Don't, you know, get sidetracked. Just keep on trucking.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah, definitely. So this isn't really a question that it can be answered, but if you want to like talk about, like if you did this, it doesn't really phrase it as a question, but if you want to talk about this, then take 5 minutes and ask the same person how they are doing today, then ask that person to ask you how you are doing. This is peer support. So, you know, Christine, when you talk to that person, did you ask them like how they were doing? And they asked, you know, they asked you obviously how you were doing?
Yeah, actually the person is one of my mentors, and so we have been going through school together pretty much, except I'm in my social work degree now and she's in mental health, but we started off both in our undergrad in psychology. And so we were able to have that exchange listening piece to hear where she was at with like her position because she just started a new job at the place that she's been interning and how that's been going. So yeah, I was able to hear kind of like how she's handling her new clients and how that process is going for her transitioning from somewhere where she worked for like 13 years.
Awesome. And how did it make you feel to be there supportive for another person, asking them about themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, it just really it makes me feel good that I can be a listening ear for someone and then be able to encourage that person as well. And also because we are really at this point peer like really doing peer support in
Mhm.
our school stuff and encouraging each other, it brings that sense of like, okay, I'm not doing this alone.
Right. Perfect. Glad you had that experience. So, question 3. Let's see. If we could have Tammy, Erica, or Chris answer this one. When things happen that are out of your control, what are 3 things that you can do to help yourself feel better and to have a better day?
I can answer.
All right, Tammy, go ahead.
Yeah, I
Shoot
can
for
answer
it.
that quick too.
Well, let's just see real quick. Erica, are you with us? Because you didn't respond at the end of break. Are you with us now? Just checking to see if you're with us. All right, well, Tammy, shoot for it. Thank you.
So I have the first thing I have is I know maybe it's not silly, but I usually check in with myself because I can get real distracted. So do I need rest? Have I eaten? Do I need to use the bathroom? So that's like my main thing. It's like I treat myself like someone I'm responsible for, and that's the first things that I would check for my kids. So I check that for myself because a lot of times those are factors that influence whether or not I'm having a good day or not. And number 2 is I have go for a walk. And number 3 is to pet my dog or talk to somebody around me. Just check in with them and talk to them because sometimes focusing on someone else really helps me.
Awesome. Yeah, this is another example of how I said, I often use number 3 for me was go over my recovery plan. I
Mm-hmm.
should have put like pet my cat, you know, but like you did. But yeah, I use a recovery plan a lot for these when I'm struggling. So, Jessica, would you like to read this one?
Um, here.
Experiencing recovery.
Yeah. Today may be the beginning of my well-being. I must be realistic. It is absolutely possible that I might be feeling better as of today. Things in my life could be a lot worse. I've suffered, and my suffering has been a great teacher. Okay, there we go. Now, if there's a lesson out there to be taught, I want to learn it. I suspect that I may have been well these past several weeks and just not have known it. Perhaps this was a necessary part of experiencing recovery. If I'm hurting, yet stay on track, that is necessary. If you are struggling or in despair and you continue to work hard to keep yourself together, that is recovery.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, I feel sometimes like, when I was just starting recovery, I didn't catch on to the fact yet that I was actually doing pretty good. Took me a while to realize that. So anyone can answer. We all have the same amount of participation for how the passage connects to acceptance. Can we get a volunteer? I'll read mine. So it sounds like the person writing this was struggling to find acceptance. They were trapped in the past and ruminating on it and forgot to realize that today may be the beginning of their being well. They also may have been well for several weeks and just did not realize it. But at the same time, while they were hurting, they stayed on track. This is a natural part of experiencing recovery. Sometimes in the beginning, it takes us a while to accept the reality that we are well. Does anyone want to make any comments about that passage or about what I said, how it relates to? Don't have to.
Only comment I have is that's really relatable because I feel like I know for me, I'm my own worst critic, and like I don't realize how I look or how I appear to other people, and that's why it's important for me to like have people around me that are supportive because they'll remind me, well, do you remember that thing and you did really well? And in my mind, I'm thinking I did horrible, but it's because I didn't achieve the ideal. But the ideal is the ideal for a reason. It's not what you're actually trying to achieve. I mean, it is, but it's like if you don't reach it, it doesn't mean that you failed, I guess, if that makes
Right.
sense.
It does.
Especially if you're making progress.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And that's, good self-awareness there, to be getting, feedback from other people too. So, question one, what does it mean to you to experience recovery? If we could have Chris or Erica read this one. Erica, are you with us yet again? Well, then, if Chris, do you want to answer this to be tied up with everybody on participation for the questions?
Yeah.
I mean, not read it, but answer this.
What does it mean to me to experience recovery?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. This is a good one.
I thought you would like this especially. You like talking about like what recovery means to you or, you know.
What was read the question again? So, like, what does recovery?
What does it mean to experience recovery? Like you're going through the motions of working on your recovery, maybe you're having some setbacks, but maybe you're achieving new objectives that you didn't think you'd reach before, how does that feel? What does that mean to you to do that?
All right. All right. Um, experience recovery. I like that.
It's a good question, isn't it? It's a stumper.
So, to experience recovery is to undergo a transformation of like some kind of journey towards healing and restoration. Um, it's a process, signifies progress, positive change, influence mental, emotional, or physical well-being. I can see recovery being seen as a personal triumph over adversity, reclaiming of control and agency, and a reintroduction to life, hope, and possibility. Um, I believe that recovery is not a linear path, but rather a series of ups and downs, breakthroughs and setbacks. It's a deeply personal process, unique to each individual, and it should never be rushed or compared to someone else's journey.
Yeah.
Progress may be slow and nonlinear, and that is perfectly okay. Every step taken towards healing and growth, no matter how small it is a triumph to be celebrated. Ultimately, to experience recovery is to embark on a courageous and transformative journey fueled by resilience and guided by support. It is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the endless potential for growth and healing. May those on this journey be met with empathy, compassion, and the unwavering belief that recovery is
Can you
possible.
speak up a little bit, Chris? I'm having a hard time hearing you right now.
Ultimately, to experience recovery is to embark on a courageous and transformative journey, fueled by resilience and guided by support. It is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the endless potential for growth and healing. May those on this journey be met with empathy, compassion, and unwavering belief that recovery is possible and within reach.
Awesome, Chris. Yeah, it sounds like you definitely put a lot of thought into that answer. I think is a good question. It makes us really think about what recovery is like. So, move
I had
on.
to really dig out of a file like my definition of recovery, and I like opening up on Word here and I wanted to pull out of there like experience recovery.
Yeah, I heard you say that clearly too. So that's great. Glad you had something ready for that. That's why I like to have, as many people as possible prepare their answers, because, when you're sitting there writing it down, you'll have more time to really think of like something really good to say. So, a question two, I'll read my answer for this one. Let me just see. Yeah. So, in what ways do you know that you are doing well? I said, when I am not trapped in the past or so worried about things, I meant to put an S there, things I want or need that I can't move forward, or when people tell me, hey man, you've been doing great lately. I'm proud of you. So that really can, help me feel like I'm doing the right things. I need that. It's positive encouragement. Get that a lot from my peers. So, does anyone want to read this one? Jessica, Tammy, or Chris would be good. Christina or
Good with
Kathy,
reading it.
more. You said you want to do it, Chris?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, so how does this coping skills guide help you improve the quality of life? So let's try to focus it on your experience with this group and how is it impacting your life so far?
I mean, it's giving me a new set of tools to put into my toolbox. That way, when certain situations arise, I'm able to, not only think about a RAP plan or a recovery goal plan, but I can also think now back to, the radical peer recovery support, class that I'm taking and, pull from that and use some of the tools from here.
Cool. And do you feel like you're picking up some good tools from this? You've been in all three groups so far. Do you feel like you're picking up some good things?
I do, for sure.
Good. And I see, Jessica, you have your hand raised. Would you like to talk about how this group is impacting your life?
I mean, like, you can be yourself in this group. There's no judgment because we all have a past. We all were addicts, been through the addiction. So it's like there's no judgment here because that's one thing is your, I guess, addict or addiction has that stigma. So that's another reason why more people are afraid to be honest because, sometimes they say honesty is the best policy. Well, depends on where you go and who you're around and everything like that. And that's why people tend to fall backwards. But yeah, so it's given like a lot of coping skills. We're allowed to be ourselves, no judgment, no anything.
Thanks, Jessica. Yeah, and hopefully going forward, this will be a group that, is non-judgmental. It's important for the facilitator to, make sure that judgment isn't creeping into the group and to correct that if necessary. Hopefully like any group of wellness can be a place of non-judgment. Yeah, I liked what you had to say. I'm glad this group is helping you out. Hopefully this group can continue to stay that way in the future. And I'm trying to switch to, there's my mouse. Thank you guys for sharing what you think about the group so far. Both of you have been here since the first group. So I think, Christine, if you could read this one, that would be great.
Sure. Accepting your life. Original peer support recovery and coping skills workbook and curriculum. Life happens. Life will go on whether things have been fair or not. Life will go on if you have made a big mistake. Life will go on if you win $1 million. Life will go on no matter what. Life will go on if you break your arm. Life will go on if you have surgery. Life will go on if you have a financial crisis. Life will go on. Your life will continue.
And there is a little bit more to this one. Can you continue reading?
We must accept that life will happen, and sometimes there's nothing that we can do about it. If we suffer pain, loneliness, regret, embarrassment, or any other difficult feeling, we must accept our life. We must accept our life, and we must accept our reality. We must also accept that each and every one of us has the power within to make a better day for ourselves, no matter what the circumstances we find ourselves in. Life will go on no matter what. I know that I will live my life fighting for that better day because I have to. I have no other option. Better days are on the way, and better days are here to stay.
Thank you, Christine. Yeah, so, we have to accept the reality of things, but like we said earlier, we do not have to let them into our lives to persistently harm us. So, can anyone answer? Let's see. All right, everybody has about the same amount for this. Would anyone like to answer how this passage connected to acceptance? I think this really connected to acceptance. It actually used the word a couple times. Would anyone like to volunteer to answer this question? We lost Chris again. The internet's probably messing with him. I'd like to get a volunteer for this one. We're almost done here.
I can share if no one else is going to.
Sure, Christina, I appreciate that.
I didn't write my answer, but just reading it and thinking about acceptance, no matter what's going on in our lives, we have to accept what's going on, right? And I feel like even the fact, like if you come into a lot of money, your life is still going to go on, or whether you have nothing, life is still going to go on. And so what are you going to do with that situation? Life isn't fair, and sometimes we just have to, pick up, fight, and accept what is there and continue, because life is going to continue with or without us. And so are we going to engage and take personal responsibility of our life, or are we going to allow life to take hold of us?
Awesome. I like how you said, fight. We got to continue to fight. It's something that we have to put a lot of effort into. So that was an awesome response. Thank you, Christine. I'm glad you made it back into the group, Chris. I see your internet's messing up on you. So, question one. I'll answer this one. What are 3 things that you feel are unfair about your life? So, I said that my sister and my cousin died too soon. 2, my experience of trauma. 3, my lack of genuine friends. Even still, I've worked so hard on it. I really have only made a few genuine friends, you know. You want so much more, though. Constant work in process, though. So, question 2. Who would like to answer this? If we could get Jessica, Chris, or Tammy to read this one and answer it. In what 3 ways do you live your life in a hopeful way? Looks like Jessica.
Pretty much life goes on, like, with my kids, although I had bad legal advice and everything didn't turn out the way I wanted to, I'm doing everything I can with them, like a file review, then there's the course of courts, and there's the court of appeals, so I'm going to keep going up the ladder till I can't go anymore. Let's see here. What else? I just work, and then I have my youngest, and just thank God that I wake up each and every day, because nothing we're not promised tomorrow. So just living each day to the fullest and enjoying my life. And I don't know. I just people love to be around me. I'm a person to cheer people up. So it's just like just being around people, making their day, and I'm in the service or restaurant business, so customer service goes. So, I'm actually getting to talk to my tailors, meet new people each and every day, and hopefully give them, I'd say, good experience, or even just saying hi, to make them better.
Awesome, Jessica. Thank you. I heard you say, climbing the ladder and being grateful for each day and the people in your life. That's awesome. So,
I got 3 quick ones for you if you want them.
sure, Chris, you can go ahead.
Cultivate a positive mindset. Set purposeful goals, especially SMART goals that are specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-based. And foster supportive relationships.
Awesome. Those are really good. I like the SMART goals. That's awesome. So, Tammy, would you like to answer this question? Tammy, are you there? Would you like to answer this one?
Sorry, I was muted.
That's all right.
I have choose to keep practicing my steps for building new habits, practice gratitude, and make sure that I take time to appreciate what I've accomplished and done right today.
Yeah. I think, being mindful of what you've accomplished is definitely something that can make your life better.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Thank you for going off mute. So that actually is the end of our discussion today. I will take a second now, we have a little bit more time today than most days, so I can show, it looks like Erica's still not with us, but for Christine, I can show you part of the recovery plan and what that looks like, and then we can have a discussion. So next, 2 weeks from now, we're going to have one goal from each section of the recovery plan that we'll probably share in breakout rooms or, just in group. probably in breakout rooms actually. So, there's three parts to the recovery plan, things that we need to do every day, a goal that we need to do every day, a goal that we need to do sometimes, and then, like a big goal that could take a while. So it's something that could take you a year to complete, maybe you'll complete it in a year or less, you know. Um, but I'd like you to have that, and I'll send you a PowerPoint that you can fill your answers in for the recovery plan. And I will show you what.
Now, do you have a specific recovery plan for the radical peer?
Yeah, I do. Can't minimize when I'm recording. Okay, so I can do. Okay.
Yeah, because I do have like a wrap plan. So is it different from that?
Yeah, it is. And I'll show you two things here. One more second, I'll share. So, can you see? Looks like you can see the recovery plan on the screen here. So, a recovery plan involves goals. Okay, so you have your goal, and then you'll list your strengths and recovery capital involving that goal. What can aid you in completing your goal, strengths and recovery capital. If you are not sure what recovery capital is, just ask me. Challenges, so you list your challenges that you might have towards, that goal. What's going to stand in your way? What do you have to work around? Action steps for that goal. Action steps sometimes are known as instrumental goals. So those are like all the little steps that you might need to take to complete the goal. And then, we use a date of completion here. So every goal needs to have like a date of completion. We're trying to do the 1 year goal plan for this group participation. So, your goal should be able to be completed within 1 year. And I can show you the, I'll just have to reshare my screen in a second. So I'll send you guys this PowerPoint so that you can fill it out, and hopefully you can switch to your PowerPoint easier than the PDF I was sending everybody. So this is the first page of the recovery plan, year one. You don't have to do this for next week, but this is something that you'll do when you turn your project in. Is what you do in 168 hours a week. Be as specific as possible. Have at least one activity for every line. You can do multiple activities at the same time. So like while you're doing hygiene, you might list hygiene and say that takes like 40 minutes, but like really you're also, brushing your teeth and you're taking a shower. So if you're struggling to come up with one for every line, just break it down. Like I said, you don't have to have that. It's okay. So, I'll
And
need
this is in the back of that PDF then, because those were like
yeah, the
I
PDF
haven't.
has that at the end, and so it looks a little different in the book for the recovery plan than on the PowerPoint. I'll have to rearrange these before I and do I have full screen here for you? I should slideshow this. Let me see. Doesn't seem to be giving me the option to slideshow.
You might have to enable editing first.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That'll help me give a full screen for you. So this is what your goals look like. You know, just like that table I showed you with that goal of getting a master's degree. But up top, you list your goal up top here, and then you have the strengths, recovery capital, obstacles, action steps, and data completion here. And if you do this on the PowerPoint, you can just click in here and you'll be able to type in there. And the thing that usually runs longer, you usually have too much to put in the table. You know, if everything doesn't really fit in the table, that's fine. You know, we just fill it out as much as we can, but we have some extra space for action steps. And I don't have these. Usually I have this page right behind the other page. So this is like you'll have extra room for your action steps here. You can rewrite the name of the goal up top. And so for every goal, there's one of these extra pages where you can write your action steps. And, you know, we like to, as we say in day 2, session 2, you know, we also include the people involved in our goal. Like who's going to help us with it, who might get in the way, where do we get the most support from, community leaders, you know, recovery resources. So as you can see, we have the everyday goal. We have the goals we need once in a while up here. And so there's 3 everyday goals, I believe. Then there's 3, there should be 4 goals we need once in a while. I don't know why there's not here. And then there's 7 big achievements. So, you know, we'd like you to have about 7 big achievement goals that could take you, you know, throughout the year to achieve. But like I said, you just need to do one of each of these for participation in the next group. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't
So
think so. If I do, I will bother you on LinkedIn.
Okay, yeah, that'll be fine. I see we have one person who joined us that was supposed to be here a little earlier. I'm gonna let him in, and we're gonna have, you know, discussion about. I'll ask you like 2 questions real quick, and then we can have open discussion. You talk about the group or, you know, just anything related to these things. So, Ayodeji, I see you were able to join us. You're actually coming in at the end of the group, but we'll have a little bit of discussion here, and you'll see a little bit of wrap up, and maybe I can get Tammy to kind of tell you about, you know, what the first 2 group sessions were like. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry for joining in late. I had some technical issues that denied me of joining earlier. However, I'll be very appreciative if I can get a brief on what was discussed or
Sure. And I do just want to let you know that this group is being recorded for some like, you know, things we're trying to achieve, like getting approved as an educational program and also like marketing. You know, we might use this or portions of this for marketing. So if you don't have your camera on now, and that's okay. If you don't want to be on camera and be seen in a marketing video, that's all right. If you want to change your name on your display name, that's okay too. But I can give you a couple of seconds to do that. If you want to change your name, don't want to be seen in a marketing video, that is okay. So the questions I want to ask you guys real quick is, you know, is anyone struggling with some of the issues that we've talked about today? If you're struggling with any of these issues, you know, you could tell us which one and say maybe how you're struggling with it. So we had honesty, trust, and acceptance today. And Ayodeji, if you're struggling with any of those issues, honesty, trust, or acceptance, you can say something too. But Chris, I think you were going to say something.
The only thing that I'm struggling with, and don't take this personally, when you were talking about your family member dying by suicide,
Hmm.
that's all. Just the way it was worded.
Okay, so you did not like the way it was worded?
You went with committed suicide, and person center now is died by suicide.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't heard of that change. I'm sorry if that offended you or, caused you any discomfort.
I mean, my older cousin. She died of suicide. So it hits a spot.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that person-centered language, try to put everybody onto it. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a class where I'm going to say something, and Christine, or you. Well, I hope one of you two would jump in and say, "Hey, that's not how you're supposed to say it. Say it like this, please." So, and please feel free to call me out. If I do such, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty. It is really hard to keep up with the person-centered language changes that seem to occur, so frequently. But you're right. The word committed versus died by, there is a difference there. So thank you for that. Thank you for
And
answering.
again, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful at all whatsoever.
I
Just
understand.
losing any family member like that. But that's all.
Thanks, Chris. So, is anyone else, and that was honesty. So, was anyone else maybe struggling with honesty, trust, or acceptance at this time in their lives?
I'll share that I have I feel like I'm recovering from it, but with trust, because I had some incidences where I didn't really feel supported in a struggle that I went through with a family member about a year and a half ago. And it was related to my church. And so it really rocked my trust within leadership in the church. And I had never experienced that before because my recovery process has really been through the spiritual aspect of a program and discipleship. And later on got more into the peer support and 12 steps and even Celebrate Recovery. But yeah, so just trying to learn how to continue to trust people within the church, and not allow that instance to discredit any person that's like in leadership within a church setting. So that's kind of been my journey over the last like good year. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it can take a while to recover from a breach in our trust, So, hopefully you get, through that eventually. I understand how hard that can be. But, it's good to keep supporting other people like you have been and staying on that track. So, anyone else want to share if they're struggling with honesty, trust, or acceptance, or we can, move on from that?
Yeah, Christine, I can relate to your whole, trust thing, especially since I started working in this field, and I've been in the field for 5 years, and I've seen just so much backstabbing and people that are not titled to be in positions but they will, center themselves up and set themselves up so that, they're positioned safe while, they're losing staff. It's I've seen it so much. So when I go and I'm working, it's hard to, I feel like I have to really try to read the individual to see, like, is this someone that I can actually trust? Can I talk to this person? Like, or is it just, good morning, have a good night?
Can I just add, like, in my experience, what has been helping me is to recognize that it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, right? And or what they're doing with their life. I have to have integrity in my own life and be willing to just be vulnerable. So if I'm vulnerable and honest with myself, and that allows me to just kind of trust the process rather than the need to actually fully rely on the trust of that person. And I have my handful of people that I can go to for my support. And so outside of those few people, people are people, right? We all make mistakes, and I make mistakes. And sometimes I have to ask for forgiveness. But at the end of the day, like, and this is part of my belief system, and maybe not everybody believes this, but they're accountable to God. And so anything that happens horizontally, it's just my duty to forgive and not allow that resentment to tear me apart, and move forward so that I can be healthy, because the only person it's going to affect is me. It's not going to affect that person. And if it does, maybe great. Maybe they'll get to a place of being able to process through whatever they're going through. But I have to look at myself and take personal responsibility and walk with integrity.
Well, Miss Brene Brown Jr., I love the vulnerability, serious, like that's something I take serious, being vulnerable. But it's, again, who do I, allow myself to be vulnerable with? That's all. And I make sure I'm very careful with it, because I mean, in this field, you're vulnerable with one person, and we don't know what their motive, if they have an axe to grind and really don't like us. And that whole story can go from, this nice, truthful story that was told in, trust, being vulnerable, to spun around 360. Next thing you know, you're sitting somewhere and they're questioning you, Yeah. So, and being vulnerable is huge. And it's one thing I try pressing harder on my male clients. It doesn't make you any less of a man. It makes you more of a man.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, awesome. Thanks for contributing to that discussion. I heard, vulnerability, forgiveness, self-awareness, integrity. Those are definitely good qualities. Um, so let's take a minute to try to validate ourselves. Do any of you feel like you have been doing really well with these things? Honesty, trust, acceptance. Do you feel like, maybe you weren't doing so well with them before, but you made considerable progress, or just feel like you're always a rock star with these? You've always like been hitting to the fence for honesty, trust, and acceptance. This is time to validate your progress if you want to. You don't have to. These are not mandatory parts of the group.
I think I'm doing great, to
Good.
be honest with you, because I've grown a lot.
Yeah, it seems like you're doing a lot of great things and really trying to help the community. So I'm definitely glad you feel that way. You know, sometimes we're doing great, but like the passage earlier said, we don't even realize it. So it is a part of our recovery where maybe we're starting to realize that we're doing good with some things. Anyone
Can you
else?
please repeat that question because I was having, internet problems.
Sure, Chris. Sure. So hopefully you can hear me now. The question was let's take some time to validate our progress. And, if you feel like you're doing really well with honesty, trust, and acceptance, you can say I'm doing really well, or if you feel like maybe you weren't doing so well with them before, but, you're doing really well with them now. Acknowledge, how far you've come, how well you're doing with honesty, trust, and acceptance.
I've come a long way with honesty, trust, and acceptance. That when it comes to honesty, I am honest, very honest. I believe the truth is only offensive when we're lying. Now, am I honest with my mother or father, my family? No. They lost that trust, and they're not going to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is. What else was there?
Just, if you feel like you're doing really well with honesty, trust, and acceptance, just reflect upon, how you feel like you've been doing with them.
Acceptance is another one so I work with my therapist on acceptance and commitment theory, and I mean when I picked out my therapist, I picked out the one that looked like he was going to at least vibe with this tattooed guy, and it ended up we share the same birthday. It's weird.
Wow.
5 years, he's just sent me 5 coins that had, the number 5 on it from all different, the Czech Republic. One was from back in Germany, Nazi era. So I'm really lucky to have him. And when he read this to me, I felt so stupid myself because I was like, wow, that is so simple and basic. And it was just, stop and think about what your decision's going to be. And is it going to take you towards what you want? Because if it does, that brings up all the things you want in life, like a house, your dog, your significant other, etc. But when you make that decision that takes you away from what you want, it brings up all those things that we never asked for, depression, PTSD, substance use, mental health. So just seeing that and knowing how long our brain actually has to make that decision was, a big change for me.
Awesome. Yeah, that can really help. So this is a time where I was going to have Tammy share a little bit about what the previous sessions were like, but seems like only Christine is the new person that's still with us. So I can actually send you the video for the first and second group, Christine, if you want to watch them. They're a little long, about 2 hours each, but they're pretty good. And then I can send you the PowerPoints that you can look through for the first 2 sessions as well. And then, so part of the homework requirement was, all the questions in the next sessions group, hopefully you can do them ahead of time, and then to work on those 3 parts of your recovery plan, one goal from each, to be ready for that. And you guys can just go ahead and chat now if you want to. If you want to get out of here, that's okay too. I'll go off camera and just let you guys, chat, but you just keep it appropriate with no cursing or explicit language. I won't be guiding you at all with this. So, have a good time. I'm glad everybody could be here, and have a great day. Oh, you have a question, Chris?
Yeah, so that PowerPoint, that slide you were showing us last, with the homework and all of the
Recovery plan.
yeah, are you going to be sending that out?
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you send that to me too?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to everybody. I haven't.
Wait, is that a part of that 246? Is it like a part of the 246 page document?
Yeah, it's in the PDF that I sent you. It's at the very end. The last
Yep.
100 pages are all the 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year recovery plan.
Okay.
And
I mean,
we do have other groups. We have the university version of this group. We have a liberation version of this group, which I can tell all of you about later. But each group has a different length for the recovery plan. So it should be more geared towards the needs of that individual. Yeah.
Which workbook are you working out of with the PowerPoints?
Yeah, I don't think I sent you the actual PDF of the book yet, did I, Christine? But I will.
You did. No, you did. You sent me
Oh.
2 of them. You sent
Oh,
the Liberation and
right.
I guess that first, I can't remember what the first
Yeah,
one was.
radical recovery peer
Recovery.
support. And
Yeah.
the liberation, so that's still radical recovery peer support liberation. They're all radical recovery peer support. But that's the one for people with a criminal history who are trying to move beyond the limitations, and struggles with that issue. And Chris, if I think Chris, you might be interested in the liberation version as well. That's something we can work on over time, and I can send you that version of the book too.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Christine.
Oh, no. So, no, I was just saying awesome. Okay. So
Awesome.
because the homework is in that book, I started to read through it and then I skipped over chapter 2. I want to say chapter 2, session 2, so that I could start the homework.
Yeah.
And I got, because I'm working out of the workbook, because it's the same thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was looking at. It's the same. And so basically next week will be session 4's
Yeah.
homework in that workbook.
Yep.
Okay.
Plus the elements of the recovery plan, which are, the last 100 pages. You'll see that it switches over to pretty much just a bunch of pages of those tables. So you look for that, and eventually, I think it's around page 150, the recovery plan starts. So you want to do the first one, year 1, the year 1 recovery plan.
Great.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any other questions, or you want to just chat amongst yourselves? Or get out of here? It's up to you.
I'm going to go do my other homework. So you guys
Okay,
have a
good.
great day.
Thank you, Christine. Good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. So I just want to make a quick follow-up here. During this group, we had an individual who said they were struggling with some of the language used. We said committing suicide, and, maybe there is a better way to phrase that instead of saying committing suicide. the suggestion was died by suicide. And, person-centered language is kind of up in the air right now. There's no real authority on person-centered language, and there's no way to really collect the suggestions that are out there for what would be better language. There's no app or database that updates with new language and suggestions. So it's important to be flexible. When the individual said that they were struggling with the language used, I had to take responsibility for the difficult situation he was facing with thinking about a similar situation that happened in his life. He had experienced a similar situation with a relative, and the way we said the word commit, that actually has a negative connotation to it. So it's usually used in a negative way. It's usually used to indicate someone's made a mistake, done something immoral, committed a crime. It actually dates back to an Old English policy of a person being considered to have committed a crime when they attempted the act of suicide. So, we want to be non-stigmatizing in our language. We want to always respect other people. And it's important to seek education as well as taking responsibility. It's important to apologize when we make a mistake, but we need to look for opportunities to learn and grow. So we got to stay engaged in this process of understanding person-centered language. And that's one of the reasons why we will be adding a person-centered language class to this radical recovery peer support facilitator training process. So it's not part of the regular group, but we're going to add it for facilitators. And I hope everybody can learn something from it and benefit in some way.